Hello, everybody, and we're back to Brinkwood Legacy. Super excited to be here. So this is the third season. I just said this before the recording. The third season of Brinkwood Legacy. This is our first session, and we have a new player joining us. I'm super excited to play with John in the world of Brinkwood. We're starting with Brinkwood Refuge in this season. So I know the last episode we talked about getting into Refuge, but then stuff happened and we weren't able to play that session. So we're starting there now. So before we get into it, let's introduce our players and most of our characters. So back to the time-honored tradition. I'm in another game with Sherry where she does not go first, and it's like
pretty luxe for me.
But we'll start with Sherry. So Sherry, tell us about yourself and your character.
Hi, my name is Sherry. I play, and I use she, her pronouns, and I am playing the character Reyes Gorhorn. She also uses she, her pronouns. She is the first. Essentially, she was the one who came to the Brinkwood, and she started this refuge. She was called here after terrible tragedy in which she lost everything because to her sense, she was the one who started the conflict that has blown up and caused the deaths of so many. Let's see here. She is, how should we say? She wants to make up for all that she has done. She wants to make this a safe place, a warm place, something that fills in the emptiness that she feels that others must have. She does not want them to carry the burdens of what she has set in motion. To that end, she is self-sacrificing and quiet and always going, trying to get as much done as possible and bother as few people while doing it as can be. She has good friends around her, and they keep her from falling into complete exhaustion. She is also in charge of the Hearth, which is a kitchen, or the Hearth, which is the sort of welcoming place of the refuge. It is a great tree. There are like lights that fill the trees branches and stuff, so they twinkle up there in the dark like stars. There are tree houses up there where some people stay, and there are like a scattering of campfires and seating, and usually something cooking on one or two of the campfires right there as soon as you walk into the refuge. There's clearly a place to go, to wait, and have someone come to see to you. And then she also is in charge of the hearth, or the kitchen. And the kitchen is full of tea and dried fruits and jams and jellies. And she keeps pictures from the kids pinned up on the walls and the shelves and on top of everything else. And there's candles. It's a very full room. It's a sort of super cozy, but everyone's very close together sort of room. But it's nice. It's a nice room. And someday she will get around to building the shelter, but she's been helping on so many other things. But perhaps today will be the day we begin the shelter.
That's true. With the way that we keep, I forgot to mention, John, because like this game is like one of 3 games that are playing. So the last few times we played Brinkwood, Blood of Tyrants, we keep bringing people back. And so maybe we need a shelter.
Yes, we're sort of stacking them like cordwood in the tree houses now. So
yeah, good point.
All right.
Awesome. And then next, Josh, if you could tell us about yourself and Toland, our historian.
Of course. Hello, hi, I'm Josh. I use he, him pronouns, as does my character today, Toland. Toland is the historian, so he's sort of the keeper of the various accumulated bits of knowledge and strange artifacts and tomes and grimoires and all of that for the refuge. He joined the refuge after his tragedy, wherein he had sort of a school, he had students, and that was wiped out by the vampires. So he is the sort of classic sad academic. He likes to hole himself up in the library. Sometimes he is forced out of the library to do things. He likes to pretend he knows how to do a lot of those things, but sometimes he doesn't know those answers, and it's worked out fine. Yeah, he has some lively students who are also doing just fine. Nothing bad is going to happen to any of those characters, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The other one just went through a time portal sometime in the future, but nothing bad happened.
Yeah,
It
no,
was
it's fine.
It was
It's totally
fine.
It's fine. I will also be playing the library to go along with Toland. That is where many of those various collected pieces of knowledge, books, tomes, grimoires, artifacts are kept. It is like partially built into some giant tree and also kind of half subterranean. So it's kind of it's got a good aesthetic going on. There is a restricted section where the real dangerous stuff is kept, which we've been able to dabble in the past. Yeah, I think that covers the gist of it, unless I'm missing something.
No, I think that's fine. I mean, I think the only important thing to talk about is the talking skull.
How could I forget the
That solved
talking
most
skull
of
that
our
we
problems last time.
yeah we finally named and wrote down.
That's true. In our extensive NPCs tab.
Where are they? Yeah,
I just have to find him.
Saliva. There they are.
Yeah. There you go. No antlers, because that's the best picture I could find. But just imagine there are antlers attached. It's very important. Okay, so that's Toland. So Daniel plays the keeper, but we won't be getting into that today. So I'll go ahead and introduce myself and my character. I totally forgot that this is a GMless game, so I have to introduce myself and my character. But yeah, so my name is Jamie. I use they them pronouns, and I'm playing Ashtara today, who also uses they them pronouns. So Ashtara is the changeling. Basically, there's someone who died and they were brought back and saved through the Fae. And so because of that, they now have access to certain forms of Fae magic. So the thing about Ashtara is that they have a magical heart of crystal the Fae gifted them with, and the Fae magic they have access to is to speak to animals, and they follow my guidance. Reflective waters can show me the past, present, or future. Only I can see and speak to the spirits that surround us. My tragedy is that I've died numerous times, and the vampires brought me back each time. And I also play the Sanctuary, which is like, I think it's where all the weird magic, sad stuff goes down, is basically the best way to describe it. So the Sanctuary has ornate Fae mirrors that hang in the air, bones bleached white and covered in flowers, gentle spirits who offer comfort. We also unlock the cave, which we spent a lot of time in, now that I think about it. So we mostly spent a lot of times in the caves. And we recently unlocked the threshold that was very cool. I don't know if we've actually been in the threshold yet, but so basically we've unlocked more magical access, basically, so we can connect more to the Fae world. I forgot to mention this, John, that we can spend tokens towards building parts of our physical spaces. So this is a base building part, which is why when we next meet our healer, you have to know that we unlock the bathhouse first. That's what we did the very first session. We rush built the bathhouse. Anyway, so that's the star in me, and then so the person who also owns the bathhouse. So Joe, tell us about yourself, Mother Myrtle, and the bathhouse.
Yeah, hi, I'm Joel, he, him pronouns. I'm playing Mother Myrtle, who uses she, her pronouns. She is the healer of the refuge. So she kind of bears the weight of pain of others. She brings light and truth to the refuge and patches people together when they come back from like rough forays. She is very tall and wide, always kind of has a big smile. She has a diary that she'll never write in again, and broken hands that can still do the work. her tools of healing are potions that are made from whatever the forest will share with her, the ability to see energy that moves through the body, and knowledge stolen from vampires. Her big tragedy is that she comes from a long line of healers, but she's the only one that has survived the vampire's wrath. And in addition to Mother Myrtle, I also play the healing tent. So which is basically just it's like the ER interludes of Refuge, where like gurneys are flying by in like a big canvas tent.
It used to be very relaxed, but now we keep
Once
bringing
upon a
home injured
time.
people.
Yep. It might be relaxed once again someday. And then in addition to the healing tent, I play the most important aspect of the refuge, which is the bathhouse, which is basically just like a place where people go to chill and relax. And we have the bathhouse move, ask someone to change an essential part of their look. Anyone else may do the same or help each other. So this is where we can have our makeover episodes if we want them. And it has been used to fun effect. And that is Mother Myrtle.
Yeah, awesome. So that's all our characters so far. John, how are you feeling about the warden in terms of like, I think at this point we can just give you time to make your choices, but if you have any questions that you'd like to ask us for our characters or the setting.
I don't have any questions immediately. I have an idea in mind, and so yeah, I think I need to just run through this real quick and make some choices, and then I can share what I'm thinking. For some reason, I do have a picture, and it's not showing up, so I'm not totally sure about that part.
Oh, sure. Oh, how do we fix this? I think maybe it broke last time. Ooh. Sherry, how do we do the image URL thing again? Oh, sorry, you're muted. I just assume you're like doing magical stuff behind the mute.
I was doing magic. It's a simple function, equals image, parentheses,
Perfect.
click on the link.
Awesome. But yeah, and for everybody else, yeah, it's very good. Very in keeping. I like it a lot. Yeah, and so let's see. I'm thinking so that John doesn't feel put on the spot. This is actually a good time. I forgot to do this off recording. So normally, I think this is a moment where we can go over our lines and veils. I will go over them on recording, but if everyone can take a look at the lines and veils, and then just type okay in the chat once you're done with them. My bad for forgetting before recording. Okay, I'm just reviewing. But yeah, our lines and veils. I'm trying to remember. I'm looking at John's choices. Josh, didn't your character bring home the Queen of the Dryads in the last mission?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
awesome.
that is correct.
Perfect.
After excising her from the witch.
Right, because I put a person in another person as usual.
You know how it is.
Well, there's another 4 Dryads too, aren't there?
Yeah, there's also the souls inside Cornix.
Yeah, so he's got a couple souls, and then there's some that are actually walking around. So there's a lot of Dryads hanging around.
Sorry, I'm just forgetting the stuff that we had to do.
So does that mean should I choose something else since this
No,
implies
no,
the
that's
queen has
perfect.
fallen?
No,
Okay.
that's perfect. That's perfect. We can, because she had technically, she was, yeah, she had fallen. So, I like the idea of your character being tied to a new NPC that we barely introduced, because we had just gotten to rescue them. So you get to say things about the character, which is very cool, I think. Yeah, in fact, I'm gonna I'm looking at our NPCs tab in our main Brinkwood game just to be on the safe side. Okay, yeah, that's a lot of people. That's a lot of characters. Okay.
Okay, I think it looks like I've chosen everything where
Cool.
I need to make a choice, with the exception of it asks me, who do I trust the least? And ask them one of the questions. Do I do that at character creation or is that something that comes up later?
Ooh, during character creation. So from your impression of the healer, the changeling, the historian, and the first, who do you feel you trust the least?
I think it would probably be Toland. I think well, okay, we are still recording. I wasn't sure we paused. Let me go ahead and tell you about my character really quick, and then I can jump into the
Awesome.
question.
Yeah, sure.
I will be playing Nazo. Uses he, him, or they, them pronouns. And Nazo is a name given to them by the forest, where they were driven out, longtime forest dwelling creature driven out by the machines of the vampires. That is the tragedy from my background. And I am picturing Nazo as somewhat of a quiet yet stern and forceful when needed person. They have tattoos describing how the force will one day claim them, and they wear bones as part of these long braids that they have down their back and in their beard. They have a bond with a fey wolf as tall as the trees, and I think when Nazo sees this wolf, it's never in full view. It's more of these like wind blowing through the trees, and it's hints and suggestions at the shape and the depth of the creature. And then so I'll also be playing the Grove. And for the Grove, I've chosen an aesthetic of tree roots that move to reveal hidden tunnels, because that just sounds awesome. And some unsolvable problems of the space will sometimes twist and turn on its own and create mazes. And there's an ancient stone golem with good intentions that gets in the way. So yeah, so I think Nazo is probably by nature somewhat skeptical of I'm searching for a word, not humanity, but sort of this like built up presence.
Civilization or
Yeah. And so I think that's why Toland probably as a historian and with all these books made from dead trees, that just doesn't seem right.
That's a valid point.
So I'll ask the question: what painful past do we share together?
Ooh.
Yeah, that is a fun question. So beyond like all the books and stuff, which is a very valid reason to, Dead Trees dislike Tolan. He's definitely an individual that like is willing to dabble and utilize, let's say, darker things, ostensibly in the service for good. There's that whole restricted section. We've used some rituals, some grimoires, things like that in the past. So I wonder if that could potentially play into it, like some sort of incident with something that either Toland had in his possession or maybe still does somewhere down in the library, caused something bad to happen to you.
Yeah, and I'm curious too. Sorry, I was only half processing when y'all mentioned the Queen of Dryads has appeared before. Maybe it's something involving those circumstances as well?
Ooh, yeah, that could be fun. Somehow tying Toland into the events that befell the Queen of the Dryad.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, that is fun.
Cool. Because what we know
Tolan,
is
what did you do?
Whoops.
Because what we know of is the Queen of the Dryads was being used by this witch-like. Well, I say witch-like, but she gives a bad name to witches. Anyway, a bad witch. Let's just make it put it that way. So this bad witch was using the Queen of the Dryads to fuel their own spells and rituals for the vampire lords, and was literally keeping the Queen of the Dryads inside of content warning body horror, inside of their body. We won't go into much detail past that.
Like a tree, though. That's the dryad hides inside of a tree. So, so that seems like the kind of spell that Tolan would have known about.
Yeah, I'm almost wondering if, depending on how we want to put this in the timeline, if either work or research that Tolan had done directly led to the trapping of the Dryad Queen.
Yeah.
So whether or not he was like directly personally involved into it, maybe not, but
like
definitely
he inadvertently led to the
his
witch being
own
able to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Or it could even be just something of like, this practice of keeping knowledge, that is, when people document these things, that's what enables it to be passed down, right?
Mm-hmm,
and so maybe Toland a bit represents that sort of thing. I'm good with that. Yeah.
Cool.
Very cool. Very cool.
Nice.
Awesome.
Yeah, no, Tolan, very directly had a hand in whatever happened. Though that's just
He did it himself.
He stood there and watched, pointed.
Oh no. Just terrible.
Wrote notes down.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay, so, and then I think with that we'll go into our flow play. So first, let me copy and paste all the lures. Make sure we have all of them here. Historian. Okay, very good. All right, and so I'll share to the screen for people who are watching. Oh yeah, thank you for checking the lines and veils. So once again, this is a living document. I'll keep referring back to it as we play. And so let's see, just as a reminder, especially because John is joining us for the first time, these things are always true. It is unsafe outside of the Brinkwood. I remember when we first started playing this game and it was just a thought, but now we fully know because our characters are out there dealing with the vampires all the time. Anyway, so it's unsafe outside of the Brinkwood. You do not leave the refuge for long. If you do leave, briefly describe what happens in summary. Next is the vampires cannot enter the Brinkwood for the most part. It is protected by the Fae. If you do hint at the dangers beyond, briefly describe what the vampiric forces are up to or how the Fae magic turns them away. and only those invited by the Fae may find the Brinkwood and enter the refuge in the first place. You may be surprised, but the Fae in the forest are not if a new person shows up. Yeah, and so the flow of play is at the start of the game, ask who of us wants to focus on the story of their characters or their aspect in the refuge. We kind of did this last time. So this is a reminder. This is what we said we were interested in. I read this, what is this stuff? Okay, so the first one is our tentacled servants getting assimilated to refuge life, because last time our brigands infiltrated a party, found out that vampires are horrible as usual, and they were experimenting on their servants. And so one of our characters was able to use the Mask of Riot and free the servants, but now we have them at the refuge and they're getting used to things. So we'd like to see them get assimilated into the refuge life. Also, we have the Mask of Violence and their project with Soleil as the keeper of the masks. So I don't know if this is going to come up this time because Soleil, our keeper's not joining us. And then next is the Dryad Queen and the Dryad Souls in Cornyx. Maybe there's a connection with Lady Winter, so it's perfect that our warden has a connection with the Dryad Queen. That's going to be really cool. And we also have what the heck is going on in Caleb? Why do the masks love him? So Caleb is a mysterious bartender slash escort slash we don't know what's up, because Jamie just likes saying mysterious things as the GM. So now Jamie's also going to find out with everybody else what is going on with Caleb. I'm really looking forward to that. It's been a while, so is there anything we want to add, like as a scene that we would like to see play out today?
I really think the Dryads are something like, essentially, because there were Dryads that weren't souls incarnates that we had here earlier that we were trying to get in shape so that they could find trees. So I think we could be in the middle of that. I think that's super important.
Yeah, maybe we can start with, I think, to ease our warden into it, because I'm pretty sure we're going to focus on that. Maybe we can start with the Dryads at the sanctuary, like in the cave or the threshold or the sanctuary itself, helping them get used to being here in the refuge, maybe. Or did we want to go to the healing tent instead? Or there's even the Hearth, actually. We could start there.
I think they had already started to heal in the sanctuary. So it was about, I think it would be that thing of whether they're ready to introduce to the grove, right? So yeah, that sounds good. We start in the sanctuary and figure out what the state of the union is.
Yeah, absolutely. So as a sanctuary, that's what I'm connected to as a changeling. I'm happy to do that. So who would like to, who do you think will be there as a character, and who will be there playing one of the Dryads? I'm also happy to play all of the Dryads, but in case someone wants to, just as a reminder who they are. Oh my gosh, we also have our sleeper Fae. Okay, so like, I will share. There's so many characters. I will share our Brinkwood. I'm going to also share this URL in the chat, but in the Brinkwood tab, we have, so this is our mysterious Caleb. Oh, not even the bartender anymore. We're just gonna put Caleb. We have quite a few Dryads. They don't even have names yet. They don't remember their names, which is because they've had their memories erased. So maybe that's something we're going to address in this first scene, like maybe help them remember their names. But there's at least 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4 Dryads.
And one has remembered her name.
Yeah. Ooh, where did this come from? I don't remember.
Me. You told us we should name them. So
yeah. Yeah, but maybe we can say this one remembered her name, right? Or held on to it this whole time, even if there was nothing else. I like that though. Yeah, names are really hard. So without name generators, I'm lost. So yeah, would anyone like to play a Dryad, or would they like to play their own character in the scene?
I don't mind picking up a Dryad.
All right.
And do you think Rayeth would be? I feel like Rayeth would be here, but what do you think?
I do. I think she would want to, because it's a kind of welcoming more people. So even though they're they're Dryads, that's like intimidating and necessary. She will do this thing. She's tall and awkward. She can do it.
And how about Mother Myrtle? Will Mother Myrtle be here as a healer, or Joel, will you pick any NPC, not just necessarily the Dryads, but if there's someone else you want to play?
I don't know if Mother Myrtle would be there, so I'll play an NPC. I'm just trying to think what would be fun.
Yeah, because we still have our list of NPCs who could show up. Let's see.
Oh, if anything, it might make sense for like Eli or Varga to be there to just
I
like
was thinking that though.
document who's coming and they can like get their like name
Yeah.
and stuff.
True. So I think the question is, do you want to play the earnest Eli who is doing their best, or do you want to play Varga who is who's like I think maybe without Eli around, maybe Varga's a little nicer, but Varga is like a little it's trying very hard to impress Toland as well. So
I think I'll be Varga. We'll see how they act without Eli around.
Yeah, because this is the first time I think that we're gonna see Varga without Eli, so that's gonna be interesting. Okay, very cool. And then I'll play Ashtara and some of the other Dryads. And John, I think because you just made the Warden, I think it kind of makes sense if you want to play out as the Warden in the scene. But what do you think?
I'm totally good with that. I have a quick question.
Sure.
I was just looking at my moves, trying to think like, what am I gonna do when it comes time for me to do a thing? So I'm kind of used to like the PBTA style moves where it says, you do a thing and then you roll some dice and find out. This looks a little different. Like, do you name a move to do it, or do you just do the thing?
Yeah, this is a good. So, this is actually, I just want to say, like, design wise, it's what would be really fun is to look at the game Dream Askew, because Dream Askew was Avery going, what if we played Apocalypse World but didn't have to roll dice or know all of the rules? So basically what Avery did is like she smashed the moves. So traditionally some people like to think of it as the weak moves are the misses, and then the regular moves are like a partial success, and then the strong moves are a full success. But like, I didn't think of it that way when I was designing this game, but I'm just saying that's, maybe as a design thing, you would like to know that. But to answer the question, basically, it's a good idea for us the way that we do it is like, we just sort of do the move first, and then we'll say like, oh, and this is what I'm doing. Like, we'll name the move so that we can pick up the token. That's how we tend to do it. What does everyone else think? Did I explain that properly?
Yeah, that makes sense. And then also sometimes other people will be like, oh, it sounds like you're doing this. Why don't you get a token?
That's true.
I've found it quite easy to sort of get caught up just in, the characters and stuff, and kind of forget to look at the moves and the lores and the things. So I know there's some very good other players in here who remind me like, oh, perhaps you should do this and get a token.
Okay, cool.
True. That's a good point.
I'll just go for it, and I'll let the group correct me.
Yeah, no worries. It's all good. I realize that it's almost the top of the hour, so I'm going to spend the remaining minutes just setting up the scene, and then we'll go. I promise we're just going to set up the scene. Absolutely. I'm not going to get carried away. I'm not going to forget. So basically, we start off in I think the sanctuary maybe, because we haven't. I'm looking at the sanctuary moves. I think so, because this is all like, I don't know if I want to subject people to another Fey Ghost. So we'll stick to the sanctuary moves. I think I really like the idea of, it starts off, we see the trees. I kind of want to say like in the distance, the far distance, because I love the way John described it. The Fey wolf, like we see the wind move, and we sort of get a glimpse of the forest shifting into that Fey wolf before we settle into the sanctuary, and we see the ornate Fey mirrors that hang in the air. We see the bones bleached white and covered in flowers. I think we see like the spirits are the ones who are carrying the Dryads in, like very reverently, or helping them walk into the sanctuary. I think some of them are strong enough to walk, while others maybe not so much. Like they're still healing. We can see the signs of the shackles that was on them that Cornix freed them from that time ago. I think we see like some of them look eager to explore the sanctuary. Some of them are nervous, understandably. And Ashtar is there standing by one of the mirrors. And for a moment, we see in the reflection, like even though like they look like a anthropomorphic like crow, basically, in the mirror, we see like that same what they looked like before, when they had a different face, when they didn't have this form. And what do we see of everybody else in the scene? What do we see of Rayeth here in the sanctuary?
I think she's come like sort of in that very serious way that is. She's very tall, and her antlers make her even taller. So it's like a 7-foot tall woman with, you know, another 2 foot of antlers that are black, but with a sort of silver thread that runs through them. And she's always a little glum looking, but very quiet. She tries to be calm and careful. And she's standing there, and she has brought like a basket of things that might be needed, but she's not sure for whom. She's just put these things in there, and she's sort of watching the Dryads very quietly and carefully to see if they need a hand or that sort of thing. But she's waiting for her signs from Ashtare or from anyone else.
Very cool. And what do we see of Nazo? Like this is the first time we're seeing the warden.
I think Nazo is he was patiently waiting and had a mat that is woven of leaves and sticks and flowers that he had rolled out and was meditating on, and just listening to the wind, feeling it blow over his skin and his chest. And as he sees everyone arriving, he starts to roll his mat back up and close it with some twine.
Yeah, and I think 2 minutes left on the clock, but I think I'm gonna go for a lure. So basically, Ashtar turns to Nazo and they say, Nazo, what does the forest say about the Dryads returning? Is it we that can help them? And I'm hitting your lure. I'm asking you to speak for the forest.
The forest is both happy and sad. Happy to have its children returned, and yet it weeps at the continued harm that come to its precious ones.
And I think Ashtar will nod and say, yes, I feel similarly, but I'm sure that we'll do our best. And yeah, so I think on that note, we'll take our first break. Woohoo. Okay, I'll see you all in 10 minutes. All right, So see you all in 10 minutes. All right, and so we're back from our break. And so we'll continue with the scene. So as Ashtare and Nazo wait for the Dryads to arrive, yeah, I kind of want to know how the Dryads are feeling about this. So Josh, I know you said that you'd pick up one of the Dryads, so and then we can check in on Eli right after. I mean Vargas right after.
Cool. Yeah, so I'd imagine, because these Dryads were freed from a, sort of evil enchanted slumber, as, they're harnessed in this like dream state. So there's probably still some like lingering fuzziness about that. Maybe reality sort of has this like hyperreal effect. So everything is far sharper than what this dream state used to be. So there's like this odd contrast. And then, so I forget, were these druids like, or dryads, excuse me, like sundered from their trees or just removed? Or like, do they have to find a new tree or home to inhabit here? Like as part of like the healing process?
Yeah,
or is it
that's a
more
good
of
question.
like, they can kind of go wherever, pick a new one, or like, I don't know.
I think we sort of were able to remove them, like take that thing, but we do need to transplant them, so to speak.
I think we kind of talked about that.
Yeah. Because originally they were attached to like it was a tree that was kept in the cellar of Sister Red,
Yeah, that's right.
and the tree had been like corrupted and tampered with, so it really wasn't the best thing to be connected to. But yeah, I do like what Sherry's saying about transplanting them. Like maybe that's what we're gonna do in the Grove in the next scene, like find the proper. So maybe the scene is about like preparing them for the transplant, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Maybe there's, because when I imagine there's the Dryads themselves are feeling very vulnerable. They don't have a tree that they are part of, and maybe there's some sort of like cleansing type ritual or procedure that has to be done in order, for them to take root, in their new home in the Grove. So yeah, I like the way you said that, they're being prepared for the transplant. So yeah, to loop all the way back to the first question, feeling vulnerable, still kind of fuzzy around the edges. It's like everything's too bright, too vibrant.
Yeah, and I'll use one of the sanctuary moves. I'll ask the Dryads to discover something beautiful and fragile in the sanctuary, maybe something that reflects how they're feeling.
Ooh. Maybe like, so in the sanctuary, I just want to take a peek at the aesthetics again.
Sure.
What kind of flora grows here?
Yeah, I think Sherry, like about flowers in the like because the flowers that come to mind are like tropical, so I would appreciate it.
So I think the thing is that this is one of those places in the forest that's cleared itself out. The trees that are here are older and bleached, and what's growing here actually is sort of the scars of the forest here. And so what we get are nettles and brambles, sharp and spiny things, not very woody. But one of the things that's starting to come up are some of the fast-growing trees. Some refer to them as weed trees. So they would be like sassafras, which is sweet smelling, and willow, which where it's by water will spring up very quickly, and the small trees like dogwood and redbud. All of these things that will flower and be gorgeous and smell good, but will not last forever. And it will be some time before the old trees, the ones that live for a long time, start to show above the grass that's here.
Yeah, so that's perfect, because I was imagining some sort of flowering thing and you mentioned these flowering plants, and even, nettles and stuff will blossom. So I think these small saplings and small fragile flowers that are springing up in this, rather desolate is a very strong word, but it's rough here compared to the lushness of some other aspects of the forest. So I think seeing those small parts of new life, spring up in this place that has been so kind of worn down, is both inspiring to these dryads and also very reflective, because they are sort of in a period of new growth themselves.
Oh, I really like that. Yeah, very cool, very cool. And so technically you earn a token, but since you're playing an NPC, I'm going to put it in the Sanctuary Moves little box we have as an extra token. And okay, well, it's Vargas, it's not Eli, so I could be a little mean, because we can spread it around. Vargas, as you're looking at these strides, first tell me like what we see of you, like before I ask the question.
I think Varga is kind of at Rayeth's side with like a clipboard and a bunch of papers that they're just kind of like flipping through. And at some point had probably told Rayeth like, Tolman wanted to make sure there was like accurate documentation, which is why I'm here, to make sure it gets done correctly, and is just like very pretty much like feels like he's been put in charge of the whole like documentation of the dryads, like writing down their name, descriptors and stuff. And he's probably even like snottily like given his own opinion to Rayeth. Like, I looked at like what we all have here, and I don't know if we can support them, but that's just my opinion. And then just like makes a check mark on the little pad that he has.
I do think Rayeth is very seriously. She says, "Is that so?"
Mhm.
And then she'll just sort of like put her hand on your shoulder, like she's being reassuring.
You think this is Rayeth granting someone a kindness by taking Vargas seriously? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna put a token in for you. So normally, John, we can just take the token ourselves, but I put them in for Sherry just so she can focus on the role play.
Because I'm spoiled. I try to help other people.
But yeah, and so Varga, as that happens, I think in one of the mirrors, you see like an older version of yourself. What do they look like?
I think like this Varga is very kind of like confident and arrogant and like very self-assured. And the future Varga that they see is very forlorn and looks like they've kind of like lost someone that may have, been taken from their life at that point in the future. And you can kind of see like it's just a profile. So you start to see like they're wearing almost the gear that like people would wear when they go out on the forays. So like people part of a rebellion. Like maybe there's like the hilt of a weapon at their back or something. Whereas now, like they have no weapons at all. They don't even have any like calluses on their hands from like holding a weapon.
Wow, amazing. I love that. And the move I'm going to trigger for the sanctuary is ask someone to deal with the problem of the sanctuary. And one of the problems is our future selves show up once in a while to warn us. So what warning does your future self give you through the mirror?
I think the future self like assumes the naive Varga will know what they're talking about. So they kind of say something like, he's going to be taken from us. The one you care about will be taken from us. You have to save them. And Varga immediately goes to Toland in his mind, but we know from the other game that it's not Toland. So like Varga kind of doesn't say anything to Rayeth, just kind of thinks like, I can solve this all on my own, and pulls out like a little scrap of paper, and it just writes on it like, save Toland, save the world, or something like that.
Oh my gosh, so good. I really like that. yeah, and I think at this point, Astare nods towards Nazo and steps forward, reaching out their wings, their broken wings, towards the Dryad. And they say, please step forward. The sanctuary welcomes you, just as the forest welcomes you back. We need to help you prepare for we need to prepare your hearts to transfer to a new tree. And so Ashtari looks and sort of like gestures towards, I'm thinking like there are these like pockets of like soft moss across the roots where people can sit. um, I've actually never sat on moss in real life, but in my mind I assume it's comfortable, right? So
Usually kind of wet and squishy.
okay, Ashai will like throw a blanket on top then, like so that it's dry. I'm such a city person. Anyway, this game is obviously my fantasy.
It
So-
looks soft. I've fallen for it plenty of times when I was a kid.
The Ghibli movies lied to me. Okay, so, but yeah, and I think Ashtar like places the blanket and looks towards the Dryads, and ooh, I'm gonna look at my weak moves if there's something I can. I think I'm going to trigger speak honestly about your tragedy, and I'm going to look at one of the Dryads and the one of the wings. I think there's like a Dryad with like these cool wings, and Ashtar will say, I know what it's like to be brought back from the brink of death and to be rescued by others. It takes some time to forgive yourself for what you went through, but know that it's not your fault and we're here to help you. How do the Dryads respond?
Leaf-winged one. I think nods, looks comforted in this, because everything is very new and strange and scary. And, yeah, takes that, sorry, this is the start, of this regrowth cycle. And as we sort of prepare for whatever this sort of cleansing is going to be, I think this Dryad also does turn to Nazo and ask, hitting a lore, what does the forest wish us to do? Because, how can we take our place in the forest?
I think that Nazo stares back for a moment and gets a confused look and says, I don't understand the question. The forest doesn't want anything from you except for you to be where you belong. You are a part of it, and should you wish to return, you'll be welcomed.
That's good. That's good. Yes, I think combined with what the comfort that Ashtar was offering, and then now what Nazos just said, I think that there's a sense of relief both among this Dryad and probably sort of spreading through the rest of them as they realize, this isn't like this isn't a trial or something. It's like, you're home. You're almost there. You're welcomed.
And I think Nazo, I picture they have a pack with them, right, where they've strapped back their mat, and Nazo starts to rummage in it and is going to pull out these garlands that they've prepared and give one each to the Dryads. These garlands of acorns and berries and twigs and small things collected from the forest floor that they've kind of knit together to be a bit of a necklace, and to help begin this process of feeling the forest again. And I'm wondering if this counts as doing a kindness.
Yeah, I was about to ask. So definitely, then it absolutely qualifies.
Awesome.
Definitely feels very kind. And yeah, so I think with that, Ashtare leads everyone into a circle, but looks towards Varga and says, we'll need you to be at the center of the circle. We need someone of your, and Ashtare like cocks their head, like in a very bird-like way, of your disposition to ground the ritual.
And Varga just eats it up and is like, of course, to document everything. I am most suited for this task, and like kind of rolls up his sleeves a little bit, hops up off the like little moss chair that they were on, and then just kind of walks to the center of the circle very seriously, like pulls out like a pen and is like, I'm ready.
And then Ashtare turns to Rayeth and says, Rayeth, my dear, I can begin the ritual and Varga can hold the ritual, but I will need you to end the ritual. Is this something you'd be okay with doing?
Yes, of course. I'm very good at endings.
Okay, so I hit your door telling you what I need, so I'm gonna eat that token.
Good.
I'm always very amused with Power Gaming BOB.
Exactly. Take your lessons from Jamie.
But yeah, and so with that, I think in order to start this ritual, and there's this sort of unspokenness because Ashtare didn't ask Naza to do anything specific for the ritual, but I think unspoken, it means Ashtare feels like if they mess up anything or if there's a mistake that they make, that they know that Naza will be there to support them. And so Ashtare turns to everyone and says, I would ask you to remember what it is like to feel like you belong to something, to someone, what it feels like to know that no matter where you go, there is a home that cannot be taken from you. And so Ashtare is trying to help everyone connect to that feeling of home. And I think this is a good time. I'm going to ask everyone. I'm looking at the sanctuary moves. Ooh. To describe what their soul needs. I think that's what the ritual is. So everyone can take turns doing that. I'd like to maybe ease the Dryads into it. So maybe it'll have to be Ashtare who starts first. Ashtare says, what my soul needs now more than anything is to, Jamie as a player is thinking, how painful do I want this to be for Ashtare, the character? So like, I think Ashtare says, what my soul needs is to give myself permission to remember all of the past. I recognize that there's a part of me that doesn't want to do that. And I think it's time to remember everything in order to build the future with those who matter. And so I think the next person I'll ask is Varga. Like, Varga, how do you answer the question?
I think Varga is a little too arrogant initially and is like, my soul has everything it needs. I couldn't be happier being Toland's like star student. I don't need any of the other stuff that I think it's, let me just double check. The orphans, I don't need to like be bothered with the orphans playing on the playground with each other. That's that's for children. I have my studies, which is all I need. I don't need a. And then like Varga kind of like gets quiet a little bit. It's like, I don't need a friend. And then just kind of like deflates and just like looks to Wraith, asking, kind of like just silently asking for like advice or help.
Reyes looks at Varga and she goes, what my soul needs now is for each of you to find a home, to find a place in a refuge, and to find a place and time when you can face what it is that you need.
And then what does Nazo say about what they need? What their soul needs, rather.
Nazo opens his mouth to speak and then closes it and kind of just shakes his head and says, I don't have individual needs. The forest gives me its needs, and that is what I work for. And that's all I have.
Are you getting caught up in the needs of the forest, or are you?
I'm like trying to double down. I'm saying I'm getting caught up in the needs of the forest and struggling to express my own needs, but I won't claim 2 tokens for that.
Sure. Any one of those will work.
No, I can make it legit. I'll look at you like questioningly and she put her hand out because she needs you to say these things.
Are you trying to get closer to?
Yeah, I think so.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't thought of myself in so long, and I just don't know that I know myself that well anymore.
You're not alone in that.
Yeah, we have 2 characters who like give too much of themselves. But yeah, absolutely. There's a true connection there. And I think lastly, it's the Dryads' turn to say what their souls need.
So I think the Dryads sort of in turn and half collectively answer this, that their souls need is, I think, rest and peace, and that acceptance, which they feel that they have begun to accept themselves, so I think it's pretty straightforward for the Dryads, and they also express thanks for their welcome to this forest, and that finally they'll be able to rest in a pleasant way, a healing way.
In sunlight.
Yeah, and I think with that, Astara will nod and turn towards Reyes to end the ritual.
I think Reyes will say, we have said our piece and we have much more to say, but let us start the walk towards home. Yeah, and she'll step away from the circle is essentially it.
And I think with that, Astara will stand up and turn towards the trees, and it turns out that Astara had like created this cord out of things that they found in the forest, or out of pretty fabrics that they got from Reyes and from other people, and it's this long, it's kind of like a hand fasting cord, so it's like really long, but it's meant to tie from like loosely tie from one wrist to another for the Dryads as we lead them towards the grove. And does anyone want to do anything for their characters before we end the scene? Or
No, I think one of the things is that as you start to walk over there, one of the Dryads is very like still having trouble with the light and stuff. And I do think that like Reyes would offer to like, she like holds her cloak out and around her to kind of shelter her, but so that she can still see her path ahead. It's an incredibly awkward move to do, but she sticks with it the whole way.
yeah, is this granting someone else a kindness? Yeah. Okay. I went ahead and put in the token for that. Anybody else?
Come on, Varga.
You know, I'm trying to think of like what dickish but like sincere thing he can do.
That's such a good way of describing Varg.
I think he'll like, or Vargo, they will go to Ashtari and probably like just kind of like very cockily like look Ashtari up and down and be like, I would have done that differently, but you know, not bad. You do good work here. And is just trying to like show them that they accept Ashtari, and then like gets a little red and flustered because like they let too much of their emotions out, and then just like goes into their pamphlet and like asks the Dryad like information on like, you know, where do you plan on staying at this moment? Like, have you decided on a name yet? Like, just to like get away from that conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. So good, so good. And I noticed like our NPCs are hitting our lore. So for now, I put them in the sanctuary moves token slot, but that's a good thing. I'm going to put in the playtest notes, like if an NPC hits a lore. But yeah, awesome. And so I think that's a natural place for that scene to end, and we can move on to our next one. So do we want to go straight to, I feel like it's natural, right, to go straight to the grove. So sorry, I'm so distracted by my cat. So when that happens, so John, as the grove, if it's your first time playing, it can be a little tricky to like juggle both your character and the grove. So feel free to just focus on one or the other. What we can do as players is we can try to actively hit the grove moves without you having to ask us. If you want to do that, so that's a possibility. But just so that you're aware of what the moves are, they are ask someone to spend time with the animals and receive insight, clarity, or kindness. Ask someone to care for the animals for a time. Ask someone to be chosen by one of the animals. Ask someone to teach others how to tend to the animals and care for them. Or ask someone to deal with a problem of the grove, which could very well happen. We could have the maze suddenly turn up right after this ritual. So that's a possibility. But yeah, and I think ooh, yeah, maybe we want to unlock the garden moves. But yeah, that's basically I just realized that the session, so each place has like a once per session move that it can do. And this might be something you want to consider. I think any of these could work for the Fae, but there is describe a unique or magical plant that begins to grow, which could be connected to the Dryad. So that's something to consider.
I was just looking at those and I was going to ask how that works because I love that idea.
But yeah, it just basically works like you can say at any time that it happens, describe what it is and how it affects us, and then you ask one of us to answer the question. The second
Gotcha.
one.
So I think from your example that I saw, since I play the Grove, I kind of set up this scene and then use its moves to start prompting people to do things, it sounds like? Okay.
Yeah, you just become like a mini GM. So we'll figure out, like, I think it's natural to think the same characters will show up in this next scene, but just in case, if someone wants Toland or Mother Myrtle to suddenly appear, or Rayeth, if you'd rather play an NPC, we can still move that stuff around. Like, I think Eshtar will still be in the scene, but how about for everybody else?
Reyes would stick to the bitter end, or the lovely end, whichever one it is.
I hope it's a lovely end. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm good. Sticking with the dryads. I keep doing that. Yeah, so
It's very close. It's just one letter.
yeah, right.
Yeah. And I think Varga is like, they're doing the job till the end. They're gonna make Tolan proud.
Okay, very cool, very cool. Yeah, so John, so I think it helps to think of yourself as like the mini GM in the scene. If you want, we can take a break here, right? We're almost to the top of the hour anyway, and then so that you don't interrupt the flow of the scene, or do you want to set up like I did earlier and then take a break?
I'm fine with either. I don't know how long the scene will even take. It might be, only 15 minutes.
Yeah, that's a good point. Very good point. Yeah, so why don't you go ahead and set up the scene, and then
Yeah, so I think we're all heading to the grove to give the Dryads the chance to reintroduce to the forest. So the grove, I'll read the description, is where the animal of the forest gather and the brightest flowers bloom. I am wild, I am beauty. I am a reminder that the forest provides and shelters. And the aesthetics are that the tree roots move and reveal hidden tunnels as you travel through this area. So I think after traveling for some time, you come to a specific circle of trees. But I'm going to ask, when I ask someone to deal with a problem, do I choose the problem or do they choose? I should have thought of that.
yeah, no, that's a good question. Usually, yeah, it's very like open to interpretation. So what I like to do is to introduce the problem. But if you want to ask someone, to deal with the problem, and then they say which one it is, that's also totally
Okay,
fair.
because I had one in mind, but I wasn't sure. So, and I address this to someone specifically. Yeah, I'll do that. That makes sense. So Rayeth, is when you arrive to this area, you find this large ancient stone golem blocking your way. What are they doing to interfere with your continuing this journey?
They overheard while you were going over to this other part of the forest, and they've come to greet the Dryads, and they've picked a bushel-sized bouquet to give to them. But he is huge and frightening to the Dryads, but he wants to offer them flowers. And he's sort of a sensitive soul. Certainly Rayeth does. And yeah, I think that is what it is. It's just he's giant and he's in the way because he desperately wants them to take the flowers that he's brought them.
So this golem stands in your path, holding this huge bouquet of flowers out in a booming. You hear the rocks tumbling as it moves and shifts, trying to get a view of the Dryads. What do you do?
I think she stops, and she sort of turns and kind of bows to the others that are behind it. She'll step up to the stone golem. She's taller than anyone else in the group, but even she has to sort of stand on her tiptoes and gesture for him to bring his head down. She says, "You have brought them a beautiful bouquet, but there are 4 of them. Help me split them out so you can give a bouquet to each. And she'll go, show me the flowers. And essentially, the 2 of them will consult for each dryad, and she will carefully take those flowers out of the bushel and take them over to the dryad and say, you know, does he have a name, this golem?
I imagine it's his true name is something unpronounceable and that only the forest knows. But you're welcome to give them a nickname.
Then he has named himself Not Nazo. So, because he's the other one that lives in the grove. So he understands these things. You're either Nazo or you're not Nazo. And he is not Nazo. And so Not Nazo will carefully point out all of the yellow and orange flowers for me to give to the druid that has the white and the brown. And, says, the sunny ones for her. And then Rays will take those over and present them from Not Nazo. And like just that way so that they don't have this great big golem right in their way. And then she turns and bows to the golem after she's presented them and then goes back and gets the next one and the next one. and and then sort of turns and kind of like looks to the Dryads to see how they have received those.
Yeah, so I think the Dryads are particularly touched by this gesture. I think this is maybe like the first like gift, that they've been directly given since arriving in the refuge. I mean, people have helped them and cared for them and all of this stuff, but I don't know. Nobody's given them flowers yet. And like, that's nice. This is really nice.
All right. And so she will go back and she will whisper in the golem's ear the things that they said of how much they like the flowers and all of those things. And she goes, if you bow to them, that you can lead them into the grove.
And you see him stand up and then with a heavy bow as this massive rock comes to tower over top of you with a sense of, is it going to stop or is it going to crush me? But it stops. And then it turns and heavy thuds as it starts to walk and lead you the rest of the way. Varga, it's Varga, right? I'm remembering the name correctly. I would like to ask you to be chosen by one of the animals that starts to follow you on this trip. What kind of animal is it?
I think it's almost like a kind of like a mix between like a ferret and a raccoon or like a red panda type animal that just kind of like scurries around the flower bed and stuff. And in this game, it's got like little like nubs of antlers that maybe like split off one time. And it's just pretty much like weaving in between Varga's feet, and Varga's constantly having to like shoo it. And if he stands still a little bit, it starts to like try and climb up on his leg, and he'll like push it down and like mutters at the animal like, I'm in the middle of very important business here. Tolan needs this documentation, and like is trying to write, but it's like it'll get up onto like a rock that's very close by and try to like swipe at the quill that Varga's writing with.
Yes, absolutely. And I think this creature is going to stay with you as you arrive to this final area. Ashtari, you've made it. How does this process of reintroducing the Dryads begin here in the forest?
And I think we find that in the forest, there is this one, there's a set of trees, I think one for each dryad. Um, this is not necessarily the tree they're going to be transferred to, but it's just the end of one part of the ritual leading to the next. And these trees are covered in the same cord that Ashtari had like braided and weaved together for the dryads. And so very gently, Ashtari leans over, unties the dryads, and takes it to the trees and ties it there. And Ashtari turns to the dryads, and I'm going to use one of my strong moves, spending 2 tokens, and to teach someone to unlock a little of their magic. And I'm going to reach out to the dryads and I'll say, it doesn't matter what was taken from you. The magic and the forest will always be with you, and there's a part that they can never take. And this part can always grow, and this part can always expand. But I promise you, we will protect you, and no one will take anything from you again. And Ashtari reaches out and like places a feathered wing on each of their shoulders. And I think we see like on each of the dryads, like more of the flowers start to bloom or the leaves become more green as Ashtari unlocks a little of their magic inside of each of them.
Yeah, so it feels like at this point, with the magic unlocked, that they've arrived at this place in the grove that the dryads can now take root here.
Yeah, that feels natural.
Mhm.
Excuse me. And as the dryads begin to take root, give us just a quick glimpse. What does that feel like, that reintegration to the forest?
Yeah, it's something like there's a connection being made, and kind of a sense of not deja vu, but like something that was forgotten now remembered. Even though they haven't ever taken root here, it's just so natural that it's as if they always had been. So I think there's like a literal aspect of the taking root. These are dryads, there are trees, roots form, bark, things grow. It all becomes very verdant. But there is also, that metaphorical taking root is now they've sort of tapped in to that kind of greater like root system of the refuge of the forest, sort of starting to join with it. Not, losing individuality, but just opening up different senses.
And as this is taking place, Varga, you feel the tugging on one of your sleeves of this animal as it pulls on you, and it kind of points a paw to the ground, and you can see where a root has pushed its way up from the ground, and it begins to bloom and flower as it grows before your eyes, and there is a blue pearl in the center of the flower. Let's see. Sorry, how do I ask what it is and how it affects us, or I say that? I was doing the describe a unique or magical plant that begins to grow.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so you can start with describe what it is and how it affects us, and then one of us will answer the question. But in typical GM fashion, if you want one of us to describe it as well, you can have that happen instead.
Yeah, because I'm not sure how it affects you. So I'm gonna punt to Varga.
Oh yeah,
How does
perfect.
so yeah, it's this root that's pushed up, and then a blooming flower on it, and there's this blue pearl in the center of it that the flower opens to reveal. What What positive emotions does this evoke from you?
I think Varga sees it, and at first they're kind of like, well, this is a tripping hazard, and like pulls out their little like pen knife to like get rid of the root, and like goes down closer to cut it away. But then they just kind of get a strong wash of hope that washes over them, almost like, you know, everything they've been through, the refuge, even like the war against the vampires, like there's a chance. And Varga just kind of like stops for a second, and like everyone's behind him so no one can see him, and there's just like a single tear that kind of rolls down their cheek.
And so now I ask, I can ask someone else, right? I can
Yeah,
spread the
absolutely.
questions around.
Yeah.
Let's ask Rayeth, how does this discovery drastically change the refuge? And if you answer, you gain a token.
Mhm. Those pearls are almost like seeds for the little gods, or the ones that are lost can come back if we can have those take root. So it is something that is lost that can come back, and that is what those are. And they are, so yes, it means that there's a way that we can not just find them, but actually bring them back from places that we're cut off from.
I don't even know what you're talking about, and I love it.
Okay, there are little gods. They are what is left of the Fey spirits and powers of the forests. And they are tiny and small, and they hold what they once were, but in a small concentrated form. So
Awesome.
they're all cute too, or scary.
Awesome. That was great. I mean, that's basically what I had in mind for the scene. Is there anything else anyone would like from their characters or in the Grove?
I do think that Varga would probably like ask, because I think, let me just look. Nazo's lure is like ask about to speak for the forest. So I think Varga would probably go to Nazo and say something like, you know, I could easily figure this out on my own, but there's some weird plant and I don't have the appropriate books to figure it out. Do you know what that is or what it might be? And basically just like triggering your lure to get your little token at the end.
Nazo looks at you and looks to the plant and then looks down where you've been taking these notes and says, the forest is always creating and producing, and it's not things that you can find in your little books always.
And Varga just kind of squints and is like, that was really unhelpful. I think I know what book I need to read. And rambles off some like guide on like herbology and stuff and just like scatters away and then like picks up the red panda and is just petting it, becoming friends with it now.
Yeah, and I want to say that exchange along with the blue pearls, I think it calls upon the little god of words. And mostly because I found this adorable picture. So I felt like we had to. But yeah, so like they have this gray fur and large ears, but their skull peeks through. And I kind of like the idea that the scarf around them is like a scarf that Rayeth lost a few weeks ago. What do you think, Rayeth? Like, and so like they come over.
Like she recognizes it and starts to reach for it and then stops, you know, it's not hers anymore.
And it sort of turns to you like a cat that goes like, excuse me, are you going to touch me without my permission? Like that kind of cat energy. but I think it repeats all of the words Varga said, like, and you can tell that it's learning the words, right? Like putting them back together. But yeah, I think it comes over and it paws at one of the blue pearls. That's all I wanted to add because I thought it was adorable.
And that is what the little gods are. They are our cute little pictures that we have to find a purpose for. So I think the one thing is though is that Rhea will, after the Dryads have settled and everyone seems to have like, they're doing that sort of, well, I guess it's time to move on. She will come over to Naso and say, "Would you come to the kitchen? I have some tea that you might like."
A good cup of tea does sound very nice right now.
I'm glad to hear it. And she will walk back with you to the hearth. And that's a token for getting closer to it.
Oh, nice. I'll add it.
I called my own. How about that?
Yeah, I was about to ask.
Unprecedented.
Perfect. Okay. All right. I think that's a good place to end the scene. If everybody, and so perfectly, this is a good time to take our last break. So how about I see everybody in 10 minutes?
Sounds great.
We'll see you in 10. Okay, and we're back. So what would be, I think we have enough time for like one more scene before we do the wrap up parts of Refuge. What would we like to see next? I'm looking at like, we can look into the servants and helping them assimilate. We can continue with the Dryad Queen. We could look at Caleb because we still haven't seen Caleb to get answers. So, oh, wait.
I don't think Caleb's going to tell us anything.
But if one of us plays him, he'll have to say something. So, but I'm also looking at Wait, I'm looking at our characters. I'm looking at how much.
Yeah, we got a bunch of points.
Yeah, and Davella has a lot of bands on. And Samira has a couple. I was wondering if we wanted to test out the mechanics. Ooh, let me explain, John. So basically, the idea of Refuge is that it can also interact with the characters, with the mechanics of Brinkwood, which is mainly a Forge in the Dark game. So I was thinking of like, because Sherry's so annoyed at how few actions she has during the downtime. And Refuge is basically, have you played Forge in the Dark before, John? I forget. I think you have, right? Like,
I have played Scum and Villainy once, and then I played Heist as a one shot.
Nice.
So I don't have a lot of experience with it.
Yeah, no worries. So there's like the downtime section, right? Usually you only have like 2 actions, but in Brinkwood you start with 1, and so the whole point is it can play out quite long considering, but so basically Refuge has been called like the downtime, like as an entire game, basically stretched out. So yeah. Sherry, would you be interested in healing your character who has psychic feedback and is eating dreams? I'm going to show that on the screen.
It's just difficult, you know. She always puts herself 100% out there, but then yeah. So what does it take? I've got tokens. We said 2 tokens per
level, right? So
per
like
level. Yeah.
That was the current, because like the current math is always like 2 tokens per something. So I was thinking, if you want to heal the level 2, it's 4. If you want to heal the level 3, it's like 6. I have plenty of tokens. Yeah.
I have 6 tokens, so I can heal the level 3 band.
Yeah.
And then I would be almost like a regular person again.
But yeah, and I think so would Rayeth be helping Davella? That would be really funny. Your one character helping your other character.
Yeah, I think Davella comes in and, she is one of those people that's like, oh my gosh, and, and makes a big fuss about it, and like, I just can't get ahead. And I do think that Reyes would be like, okay, why don't you come and get her all settled in, do whatever Mother Myrtle tells her needs to do, but just sort of take her off so she's not creating drama in the midst of all the real drama. And
Yeah,
do
maybe
that.
we
That
can
makes sense.
have a scene at the kitchen.
Sure.
Yeah, because Nazo and Reyes were hanging out at the kitchen anyway with tea, and then we can have Davella crash in. I'm trying to figure out if I want to play Ashtaria or someone else. How about everybody else? How about Mother Myrtle and Toland? Or
I don't know who's going to play Argon. That's who it has to be. That's there.
oh, then I'm gonna have to play him. Just absolutely.
Because she never lets him get a word in edgewise. So
That's true. That's
the
true.
important part.
Yeah, so I can play Argon, who's from the other game, but we could also have someone play. There are lots of NPCs to choose from, or your main characters. Totally fine.
I'll
What are
do
you thinking,
Davella.
Josh?
I mean, yeah, I'm always willing to bring Tolan into a scene. I'm trying to think what would best fit for this particular.
I kind of like the idea you were hiding from Nazo in the kitchen, and then Nazo shows up with Reyes. Like, well, Nazo will try to look for me in the library, but I'm gonna hide here in the kitchen.
Trying to lay low and it just backfires immediately.
That's my idea, but what do you think?
Okay, no, I love that. I love that. Put Tolan in a spot.
So, Joel, do you want to continue playing Varga, or do you want to switch to Mother Myrtle?
I think I might switch to Mother Myrtle. And like if anything, maybe like Tolan had initially come to the healing tent and Mother Myrtle was like, no, you're gonna contaminate something, like you have to get out of here. She's like, fine, like if you're trying to hide from Nazo, let's just go to the kitchen. He'll never go there. And so it's like Tolan and Mother Myrtle just enjoying a cup of tea when Reyes and Nazo like barge in.
Perfect.
Arge, it's my kitchen.
Come in uninvited in your own kitchen,
Invading your own space.
Okay, perfect. So Sherry, could you set up the kitchen for us? Like, what do we see? What's the scene like?
I think that one of the things is because Reyes has packed that basket of all the things she might need for the Dryads, that in fact, it is in even more of a disarray than it is usually. Like, there's always a lot of teas and stuff, but you never know which ones they are. Only Reyes knows. But now there are lots of open boxes of tea and, different things of little dried fruit and little jars of things all over the place, unlabeled, completely inscrutable to an outsider, and thousands of spoons, because clearly the way Reyes figures out what something is by tasting it. So, it's just, but otherwise, I mean, the kitchen table is there. There's always a kettle. It's always going. And there's lots and lots of candles to kind of for soft light in there. So, the two of you could be in there, and when other people come in, you just kind of stay in the darker recesses, and certainly no one would notice you, right?
And I think I want to say that at that exact moment there, when people start to lock eyes and be like, uh-oh, that's when Argon shows up, like to not help the scene whatsoever. But what does everybody think?
That sounds great.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I think as everybody's eyes lock, Argon walks in, and Argon is mostly like beyond pale, like this is not humanly possible kind of pale from what they went through at the hands of the vampires. And even their hair is white, everything is white, their eyes, there's no amount of color on them whatsoever, just a few blue veins that you can see in certain places. And Argan turns and says, Devella needed help and looks at the growing tension between Naza and Toland and is like, should I come back later with Devella?
It's like, I will get some more water going. And she'll get that set and go. What is it precisely that Miss Devella needs?
I think at this point, Devella, and feel free to correct me, Sherry, but at
Yeah.
this point, I think Devella's like, no, it's nothing. I'm fine. Argan is just overreacting.
Yes, that sounds very much like her.
Miss, I'm always going to take stress at every time I can. But anyway, so, and then Argan will sigh, this long suffering sigh, and push Devella towards Wraith and say, I've done all that I can for her at the healing tent, and as Mother Myrtle knows, and Argan nods, respectfully in Mother Myrtle's direction, I think we've done all we can for the body, but the spirit, I think Devella I've heard that you've had some tea that could address this. I believe it's called dream tea, and as Argan says it, you can tell that he's very skeptical. It's just that Mother Myrtle has insisted that it will work. So
okay. And I think Wraith will do a little show of like taking offense. And she goes, I know exactly what you're talking about. That's all. And she'll go and get Devella and sit her down. And then she'll turn to
are you hiding your pain behind a smile, or are we not quite at that point?
No, I don't think she's in pain right now. I think now she's just trying to get everything all settled so she can get to work. And she turns to Nazo and she goes, Nazo, this is Devella. She goes out and gets herself into trouble, but usually it helps people out. And then she'll turn to Tolan and she'll go, Tolan, do you need some tea too? I'm gonna be, and Mother Myrtle, I'll make you both tea. What kind do you want? But she draws attention to you explicitly without realizing it.
Yeah, Toland, who is doing his best to slowly shrink away from the situation, wanting to avoid confronting any sort of tension with Nazo, rather than, deal with it like a functional person. I think now that the spotlight is on him, so to speak, just answers anything that is good for stress.
Oh, I have just the thing. And she sort of turns to Nazo and she goes, I know what I want you to try. All right, so this is a surprise. But Mother Myrtle, what can I get you?
I think Mother Myrtle's like in between the line of sight of Tolan and Nazo, so she just kind of says like, your taste is impeccable as always. I trust your judgment. And then gives like a sorry look to Tolan and is like, I'll help you prepare it, to like get her out of the awkward situation.
Oh yes, do help. Yeah.
She like picks up a couple like tea kettles and like brings it over to you.
All right. And so I think, so Wraith will be making fine teas for all of you, whereas Devella will be in the middle between Tolan and Nazo. She'll go, oh, she's sitting there. So when was the last time you were out there, Tolan?
Oh, it's been some time.
It's terrible.
Just like does his best to like awkwardly like pat you on the shoulder, being like,
It is. And then she'll turn towards Dust and go, I don't know you. Should I know you?
I don't know that it will substantially improve what seems to be your current misfortune, but it can't make it any worse.
Oh, that's a good way of looking at it. Do you have a name?
It's called Nazo.
Oh, is that all?
It is sufficient to identify me.
Ah, yes, I understand. A single name stands alone. And she sort of stops and goes, so you're a strong personality. What do you do here?
I speak for the forest.
Oh, goodness. That's why you have one name. That makes sense. Still, have you been out there lately?
No.
It's terrible.
So I've heard. And then Nazo does the awkward pat.
This worked out great for development.
Sitting on either side of you, just be like, okay.
Yeah.
Is this now so granting someone a kindness, being very patient with Devella?
Yeah, let's say it is, yeah.
But yeah, go ahead and take a token for it. I kind of wonder, Cher, if you want to touch in the once every session kitchen move.
Yeah, I always forget these things, but they're awesome, aren't they? So this is my, let's see here.
Just in
Ooh.
case you feel like it would work.
So, let's see here. Provide a flash of inspiration and create a new recipe. Let's see. Describe what the recipe is and what's great about it and what still needs a little work. Okay. So.
And who do you think is getting this flash of inspiration?
I don't know. I think Mother Myrtle and Dryads are working together. So I think it's between the two of them. They both are have picked some teas up and they turn towards each other and they go, oh yeah.
This particular tea to help Devella calm down. And
Exactly.
Because I'm wondering, because we have here, which one do you think you're going to heal? I forgot to double check.
I have 6 points, so I'll heal the 3-point band.
Sure, the one, the thing that's eating your dreams. Yeah, that sounds serious.
Exactly, doesn't sound delicious.
Yeah.
So she's like, I'm so tired. Can't get to sleep. Yeah, so I think we'll both turn to each other and nod, and we're like, yeah, this will take out all the stress. Give it to Tolan too.
And then Mother Myrtle can look back at the awkwardness that is going on, and she'll speak. Maybe we should give it to all of them, dear.
All right, let's do it. So, yes, and it's our extra stress relief, extravaganza with a little bit of apricot jam in the bottom of the cup, just to add some sweet and some creamy fruitness to it. Yep. But otherwise, it's what? Let's see here. I think it's probably an oolong, so it's got a kind of smooth flavor to it is the base. But then it's full of all those herbs that are supposed to work for your stress stuff. So they're all kind of, what's the best word for them?
Potent?
Musty and bitter. So everything that goes in afterwards there is to kind of tamp that particular thing down. So, yes. Of course, Mother Myrtle's the one who had all the calming herbs. So she knew.
So there's technically even though the apricot jam is there because of the mustiness and stuff, it tastes like apricots that have been left in the cabinet for too long. That kind of.
Yeah, like a dried apricot that's maybe been there for 3 years, and it isn't moldy. It's just given up its ghost, I think is the best way to say
it. And it's like an aftertaste to the tea, right? It tastes good at first, and then later, blah. It's just coated in that sensation of being abandoned in a cupboard. So,
but that isn't stressful, so it's okay. It's just mildly disappointing. That's it. We replace the stress with mild disappointment. So
yes. Right. So I think Argan helps when he sees the two of you working hard. He does his best to find, because he's that kind of person. He does his best to get matching cups, but of course this is Ray's kitchen, so and there are a lot of people. So he gives up and just tries to find those that have the least chips on them instead.
Yeah,
that's
a worthy goal. If you get a saucer and a cup that don't get all tipsy, that's a win. Yeah.
As long as it mostly fits in the saucer.
Exactly,
right?
Exactly. Doesn't tipple too much.
Yeah. So he's like, He's trying to do it, and you can see like he's trying to put it at the proper optimal distance between each one.
Just get another cup and saucer down. You're going to need one yourself. So
Me?
you're stressing yourself up over those cups.
And you've earned it after all the hard work you've put in the tent, in the healing tent.
Very well. If you insist, Mother Myrtle. And he pulls out another one.
And Reyes will give Mother Myrtle a look when he says specifically, if you insist, Mother Myrtle. Like, you can boss him around.
And then Mother Myrtle will kind of lean into Reyes and be like, brew him a strong cup.
All right. So everyone gets the stress relief tea except for Nazo. So Nazo gets something completely different. It's like one of, let's see here, how best to describe it. It's probably most like a cinnamon tea if you've had one of those, but with, I'm trying to think, probably a good dark, black tea with it, and juniper. Like it tastes like the forest, and it's got that kind of pininess and cinnamon. Like it's real aromatic on your tongue. So
cool. So do you want to ask someone the question, Sherry? From the
yes,
session
let's see. Does someone say they like the tea in order to avoid hurting someone's feelings?
Who would you like to ask that question to directly?
Oh, I think it's Nazo, because clearly he's been brought here for a special cup of tea. And it's a tea with a very strong personality. So it's like, do you say you don't like it to avoid hurting her feelings? Or is it okay? Or is it something you really like?
I think Nazo, when you give him the tea, he takes a deep smell of it and says, "Oh, it smells like the forest. This is fantastic." And he'll take a sip, and you can see his face keeping it tight, and then trying to force a grin and say, "It's delicious." And as you turn, he pulls from his beard just a little bit of like a sweet gum root. And he kind of grinds it really fast and drops it into the tea just to take the edge off a bit.
He's so brave. And Reyes will never know. It's
But yeah, go ahead and take a token for Nazo for keeping up the smile.
all right. And all of you get vaguely disappointing stress relief tea.
Perfect.
And I was going to say, Nazo will even extend a bit of an olive branch and slide some across the table to Toland.
Yeah, I think Tolan will do his best to covertly take it, not wanting to offend the tea master here, but a little sweetness is never a bad thing, right? And I think it just gives this sort of like, nod of both like, oh, thanks, but also sort of like solidarity of like, I get what's happening right now. I get it. It's good tea, but like it's strong tea.
Yeah. And Reyes is a purist.
Perfect.
All right.
Perfect. Yeah. So
if anyone else wants to heal stress or anything like that, they should be able to. So
yeah, this
want to
Cornix.
spend the tokens. Yeah.
I'm trying to see if Cornix has like, but so Lady Samira also has one ban. Ooh, Cornix is doing well.
I think always rolls like amazing.
Cornix has been too lucky. Like it's gonna end at some point, and it's gonna end poorly.
I mean, we did put 3 souls of Dryads in you and stuff, but for the most part, yeah. Mechanically, you're fine. But yeah, I'm wondering if we can like, if Argan would like take some of the tea and bring it to Lady Samira.
Mm-hmm.
Right, because
I wouldn't say no to that.
Yeah. In fact, I'll say like maybe it's Ashtara who shows up because I have lots of tokens for Ashtara. So maybe Ashtara is the one who shows up to help out. How many tokens do I have? I have a lot from everyone doing so well in the sanctuary. So let
And
me
I have more than the 6 that I needed. So if someone needs another one, just say the word. Otherwise, I'll save it for building or next time after a foray when I need to heal up again.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I just have enough to heal Lady Samira with 4 tokens for the level 2 ban. I'll go ahead and remove it before we forget, because that happens. Okay, remove.
Okay.
Okay, and so I think
poor John has had to sit through us healing our characters. Other characters. So sorry.
Yeah, and so I think what it looks like is Ashtara just comes in, just very silently, like just this bird-like person just shows up, picks up some of the tea. In fact, you know what? I'm gonna say they pick up both pots, the foresty one and the sleepy one, and they just very mysteriously mix it together and like put it together in a new teapot that they brought with them. And yeah.
Extra fancy. Does it
Yeah.
look like something that Caleb would like? That's,
Oh, yeah. In fact, I think Ashtara, when Rafe looks at the teapot, will say, right, the new one, Caleb, he gave this to me. So, and he said that we should, that this would help Lady Samira. I don't know how he knew you two were making tea, but here we are. And so Ashtar just like very nonchalantly mixes the teas together, and you hear Ashtar saying to themselves, "What did he say? 3 parts this? Yeah, right. Like apparently, like Caleb had given exact measurements too." And then
Caleb. The question we are all asking.
And then Ashtara gets up and leaves with the tea. If anyone needs me, I'll be with the Lady Samira.
Right.
Is there anything you'd like to do for the scene before we wrap it up?
No, I don't know. Anything? No. Came for tea. She gave you great tea. You liked it. She's happy. You could come for tea anytime. Devella is full of drama in between you and Tolan.
Yeah, actually, I was thinking Nazo for offering that olive branch, right? Like that could be granting someone a kindness, being nice to Toland, even though he obviously went out of his way to hide from you. You can pick up a token for that.
Yeah, I grabbed one.
Perfect.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, what the general chatter is over tea, because I don't think Nazo is going to directly confront Toland either. And so it sounds like, sorry, what's her name?
Oh, Devella? Yeah, I think she'll probably tell you this story of like the group of them going to this house in the swamp where there was a party, and that everything went sideways, and that before she knew it, essentially she had to rescue some people out of vats, and she woke up a sleeper fae and doesn't know what to do about that. And then let's see here, what else happened? And then Bastion got into a fight, and she's not sure where he is now. And yeah, and then she just keeps going, I'm so stressed out. Yes. You don't know, it's terrible out there.
I think Nazo the whole time is like politely nodding as he kind of is eyeing the door, just being like, "This, I guess, this is what I get for taking tea in the kitchen." Okay.
And then she'll grab your hand and she'll go, you won't believe it. They had these canopy. They were made from leeches. It was like little tubular. It was just terrible. Vampires are the worst.
I like to imagine that as Devella is, telling all that to Nazo, Tolan is also on the other side, is like also looking on and like, what? This like, excuse me?
I think Mother Myrtle's just nodding like, yeah, that's a thing. And then like pours another cup of tea for Devella and just like forces her to drink it. Like as she's about to stop, just like puts her hand under the cup and is like, nope, whole thing.
Okay.
There, that'll calm you down.
Yeah, it's kind of a funny taste at the end. Okay, that's all. That's all I need. Is there anything else that anyone wants? There's lots of jams and jellies. You could have something delicious to eat.
Yeah, would you like to use one of the kitchen moves?
Yeah.
Ask someone to do. I kind of wonder, like, I have an idea for Argon unless someone else would like to do it, but to offer memories of home and comfort through food and drink, like maybe through the jams, create something, but unless someone else had an idea for their character to do so.
Oh, that sounds cool.
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and put a token in the kitchen. And so I think Argon very quietly starts to put together like these very delicate slices of using that same surgical precision that he uses on people. Like he's able to like cut these pieces of bread and really like layer them with like delicate jams. Like it's these really delicate, beautiful anime picture perfect tea sandwiches is basically what he's creating. And he puts them together. And he turns to Devella and he smiles. My mother used to always make these for me. And do you remember, Devella, before you went on your journey, how we'd have tea together sometimes?
Your mother was a saint. And then while he's looking at her, her hand is up. She's got herself like 3 or 4 of these. Devella is not a saint.
Argon's looking a little worried and is like, looks towards Wraith and Mother Myrtle. Is this normal? Is this a side effect of the tea? Or
So hungry.
I'm afraid she's always like this. And she just like pours another cup of the tea. This will kick in soon though.
But yeah. So does anyone have an idea for what else they would like to do? Or I kind of like the idea of ending the scene with Devella passing out soon after. Like
she eats a bunch of sugar and passes out.
Like my cat, when I overfed him a tranquilizer by accident, he was totally fine that he fell off the table because it took a while to sink in. Anyway, that's what I'm thinking. Like Devella's like blah 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 talking about the party, and then Donk like just like passes out.
Perfect.
And then Argon is like, I'll take care of her. I'll carry her to back to the tent, I suppose. Right.
And I think that's when Reyes goes, I'll take her.
But yeah.
You should get some rest.
Perfect. And so I think with that we can go into the wrap up of Refuge. I think we may go a little over time. Is everyone okay with like maybe 5 to 10 minutes past the time? Okay, just double checking. All right. So with that, so at the end of the game, I'm just gonna pull it up on screen so people watching can see it. At the end of the game, we ask, does anyone want to trade tokens before we end our session? So this is the idea of like if anyone has anything they would like to build up
Right.
for the game.
Do we have enough to buy something for the Grove?
Ooh.
There's like a training grounds, or there's also the garden.
Yeah,
But I don't know how much we have.
Yeah, because I have, let me pick up from the sanctuary. I got a lot from the sanctuary. I have 7 from the sanctuary. So I can give.
And I have 5.
And I have 2. So that's 14.
Yeah, that's quite a lot. So
Good
is
amount of
there,
tokens.
would you like to unlock either the training ground or the garden, John? You can take a look at the moves and see which ones are interesting to you.
So it looks like the garden takes 20 tokens, so I don't know that we have enough for that. But we could do the training ground. I'm not sure what its moves are.
Kind of cool, actually.
It sounds neat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a fey animals that'll fight alongside or help you do.
Yeah, very true, very true.
I actually really like this. Host a competition of strength and grace.
Mhm.
Participants describe their skill and challenges, and then everyone gains a token.
Oh, by the way, John, you got 2 tokens from the Grove move, so you can transfer them to your personal tokens.
Oh,
This is from the NPCs hitting those moves or hitting
I
more.
see.
That's right. And the kitchen got 2. So that's another 2. So that's another. So that's
4.
4. 4 total for me.
Yeah, I can do small numbers, just very tiny numbers.
Yeah.
Like when John was like, "Oh yeah, but that needs 23 to have enough." I was like, whoops." I can do it.
We had
Can do the
14 at
math.
that point, didn't we? We had like
But
2
yeah.
and 5 and 7. So that was 9 or 14. And now we have 2 more. So that's 16.
Mhm,
So we just need 4 more. We can do the sanctuary then.
mhm. Oh, you mean the garden?
And the sanctuary, the garden. Gosh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay, no worries. Just checking, just in case.
Okay.
Okay, so it sounds like I'm using my 7, and then someone's transferring 3. Is that how this works?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can all share. So I can transfer all of mine to you. So I have 7. So that'll be, we can do the math. So that's 14
14.
plus your 4.
And I have another 4. We're trying to get to the garden if you want
Yeah.
to do that.
Oh,
is
okay.
what it is.
Yeah, but if not, we
So-
can get the training grounds plus an extra move. That might work out.
That
better.
might be good too.
Yeah. So what do you? I think we're still a little short of the garden, though, if I'm doing the math correctly. In my
Yep.
head. Mhm.
I'm all loaded tokens, otherwise I would share.
Yeah. No, it's okay.
Same.
I'm not just like, I'm not hoarding my tokens over.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no.
No,
Right,
it's
right,
fine. It's
right.
fine. You earned a lot of tokens through the NPCs, so no problem.
Hmm.
Yeah. Totally. Cool.
That's what we're handing around. Your NPC
Mhm.
tokens.
Yeah, so if we're at 18, that means there'd be 8 left over after building the training ground. And I'm not sure what I do with the rest of those. So why don't I'll use my 7, and then I can take 3 split from whoever else, and you can keep your tokens for another purpose.
Yeah, that makes sense. We can always like build up towards.
Why don't
something
you
else.
take my 3 and then I'll just have 1 at the end. That sounds good for me because Davella got healed, so that's huge.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good point. Cool. All right, and so with the training ground, so usually what we like to do, John, but this is entirely up to you, is we each like take turns like picking an aesthetic, or you can choose all the aesthetics you want for the training grounds. What do you think?
I am the newcomer to the group, so I'd like to continue how you typically do things. So I love the idea of everyone choosing aesthetics.
Okay. But you have to choose the first one.
True.
I choose the first one. Okay. Very well. Let's see here. Oops. I think I'm gonna go for the stable of beautiful horses.
Ooh, nice. Awesome. Oh, if we can start introducing horse combat in Brinkwood, that would be really cool. So like as a reflection of this, that would be awesome. But yeah. So John, who would you like to go next to pick?
Oh gosh, I have to pick who goes next.
Or we can volunteer, that's also okay.
Yeah, please volunteer. If that's okay.
I volunteered Joel.
Yeah, I was about to say so.
Okay. Depending on how silly we want this, the training dummies affected by minor magic sounded like it'd be funny if like when you hit them they just made the like cheesy cartoon like pow ooh ow type sounds.
Sure.
Or if
And
you
so-
turn your back on them, they'll smack you upside the head.
They just like do a little like swing and like smack you.
I like the idea that there's one of them, one of these training dummies. You're like, no, I have a family. Like just making
Okay.
stuff up. That's not true. Right? Yeah.
And then knowing our game, like one of them will turn sentient and learn suffering or something.
At this point,
Oh,
yes,
no.
it's incredibly likely. Josh, would you like to choose the last one?
Sure. Also, that sentient dummy gave me the idea of like one of the dummies becomes a Brinkwood character, goes out on forays, right?
Oh, that would
That'd
be
be awesome.
perfect. I want to play that character.
Yeah.
Not very effective, but doesn't get stressed. So that's
Yeah,
We have
yeah.
to at least make them a cohort at this point, I
Yeah.
think. Like,
oh, that would be awesome. A cohort of training dummies.
I'm leaning towards either kind of different ends of the spectrum, collection of weapons outlined by the vampire lords, or healing stones that glow untouched. So kind of
Mm.
opposite ends. I guess it depends how, like, do we want the training grounds to be a little more cozy and whimsical, or do we want, put a little bit of edge in there with like cool weapon racks?
ooh,
Which
good
one do you
choice.
want, Josh?
They're both good. That's why
I
I'm asking for
know.
input from the group.
Yeah, John, which one are you leaning more towards between those two?
I was really caught between the horses and the weapon rack of outlawed weapons. Because I love the idea of horse combat with these crazy weapons that the vampires don't allow.
Yeah, very cool, very cool.
Perfect.
I like that. We're definitely gonna have to introduce the concept to the other game too then. Awesome. All right. And then so which trading ground move would you like? Everyone can give like what their vote for, and then ultimately the choice is yours, John. So I kinda let's see. The competition sounds good. Like I remember that you were interested in that one.
That one's cool.
I think I also liked it because it's a bit of a everyone gets a token.
We get all
Gaming
of
the
our
system. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. Yeah. And it's like what do we call it? I can hear the song in my head. The Mulan song. Let's get down to this.
No.
Like we all get like
Yeah.
a training montage,
Yeah. But
Training montages are the coolest.
if there's a different one anyone really likes, then I'm open to any of them.
Oh, that competition of strength and grace is awesome. I think it has to be the first one.
Yeah.
Agree,
Any of the
agree.
moves that like involve anyone. I feel like we've almost taken first all the time.
They're
Like they're
fun.
just
It's
too
true, it's
good.
true.
Mhm.
All right. That's it
Cool.
then.
Awesome. So that's our training ground. I'm so excited. So with that, I guess the question I want to ask the group is what would we like to play next week as we continue? So we could jump into main Brinkwood and start up a foray, or we can also, because like I was thinking, like worst comes to worst, if we start a foray next week and then Daniel can join us the week after, I don't mind technically running for a few more players because it's a bit easier to do that in Forge in the Dark for me compared to PPTA because it's more, you just go through the characters quicker. So I don't mind if John wants to join us for the third.
Why don't we do that if that would be easy? I think that would be excellent. Have another person along with us for the foray. Super fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm also
if
okay with.
it's
Sorry, go ahead.
if it's not too much trouble, then I mean I'd love to do that and get to try out that game, but I certainly don't want to put added stress or anything on you.
No, you're not as stressed. I would love to have more of you, John. No problem. So like, I will happily, especially if I know all the players, it's much easier. So
And we have so many masks that just haven't gotten enough screen time. So
True.
At least all the masks think so.
True.
So.
But yeah. I'm so excited for the next session. So I think I think we'll play Brinkwood, Blood of Tyrants. John, I'll talk to you on the Slack and stuff to help you make a character so that you can, if you want to make a training dummy, you don't have to, I'm just joking. Like, that would be hilarious. I'm gonna look at the cohorts. I'm gonna look at the cohort rules because like that's one thing I rarely touch in Forge in the Dark games is making cohorts, but training dummy cohorts sounds too good to pass up. So
We'd have to build them up, wouldn't we?
yeah, I will look into the rules of that.
Okay.
Because Eric, I know he finished, but I don't think he's posted it. But he's because it's going into layout already, as far
Wow.
as I know. So I'll double check. But yeah. So I think we'll quickly go into Stars and Wishes off recording. But for everybody who is listening or watching, thank you so much. This is such a great session to ease back in with the Refuge. I loved the addition of Nazo. Very cute. Very cool. Yeah, so we'll see you all next week. Thanks so much, everybody. Bye.